Okay, I'm back today, everybody, and I'm going to start with some color on this still life. Not going to all happen in this one clip, but at least we're going to get started. So I'm going to try to keep myself out of the video as much as I can so that you can see a little bit better. And right now I'm just going to put my gloves on. I've pre-mixed some colors to come up with sort of a palette of what I'm going to work with. I have some things that I'm not sure about, and we'll just kind of enter into the process of painting and let those decisions come as I'm working. So usually what I like to do is start with the background. I tend to work back towards the front, but also keep in mind it is very useful to work the entire canvas, so I don't want to get too stuck in that, so I try to pay attention to work the whole canvas, and it just helps see the relationships, and it helps with when I need to make some modifications if something isn't working, because the relationship between the colors is also very important. So right now I am going to start with the background with the gray, and I have like a warmer gray that I mixed up here, and I'm just going to start putting that in. I kind of put too much walnut oil in there, so it's a little too liquidy. And what I used was cadmium yellow, the French ultramarine blue, and some alizarin crimson, and then added a little bit more yellow because I see a warmer cast to that gray that's in the background and wanted to use that. So I just mix the three colors a little bit more towards the yellow side, and when you mix the three primaries, blue, red, and yellow, you do get gray. And you can create a very dark gray, which almost looks like black. That's what I tend to do if I need a dark. I don't tend to purchase black paint. I just don't need it. I can mix it, and then I can, kind of alter it towards whatever kind of warmth or coolness seems to fit the painting. So right here again, I'm running out of paint, and that's another thing that happens, and I'm still learning about that, how much to mix at a given time. And I do try to keep using that the palette knife instead of my brush, because the brush tends to I get the color mixed into the other colors, and it's just not as clean of a mix. So I'm just going to keep going here like this, adding in some whites. It's a little awkward for me sitting on the side, I gotta say. I don't have, you have to bear with me because I don't have the exact perspective that I'd like to be witnessing the lights, like the cast shadows and things of that nature, but I'm going to do my best here with this, just sort of rough in. Maybe go a little more yellow in there, and you can always come back, like I said before, even with the value study, you can always come back and make modifications. So just start somewhere, starting with the back's good, and then you work your way around. So I think what I'm going to do now, I'm going to switch brushes too. I try to get two of each size brush, so one I can tend to focus on with the darker colors or cooler hues, and the other one I can use for the warmer tones. And that also it helps keep the colors from getting too mixed together. So now we got this pink in here. Pink's a hard color I find to work with. Got some violet in here. What this color is, what I mixed is permanent rose, and I put some violet in there with white, because that's pretty much what I'm seeing in this color that's underneath the picture and the lemons. There is some, I feel like there's some yellow in there, probably reflections from the lemons. So those are kind of nice to put in there. And I'm just going to kind of rough this in a little bit too. Not getting into the shadows yet. Trying to stay around those shapes that we outlined, or defined rather. So I don't want to take those out. And this gets a little bit lighter as we move forward, so I'm just going to kind of throw in some more whites in there, and probably add some yellow on that too, because later on throw some yellow in here. Okay, so now I think I am gonna try to get in some of the shadow, these light shadows. They're nice soft shadows around the lemons. So this one in here is a little bit darker. You can just take your time with this. Stop. It's also good to stop and step back from the work, and then take a look at it from time to time to see how it's progressing. If you're catching the values the way you see it, you want to, the way you see them, or the way you're experiencing them. And the other thing I wanted to mention was about the paint. I let my palette sit down here in my studio, and sometimes when I come down, if I let it sit for more than a day, I will come down to some crusting over the oil paint. So, I'll have to, that's normal, that will happen. I'll have like a crust or a skin on it that I'll need to lift off before I can work with the paint. And one trick that I learned is that you can put the palette, when you're breaking from painting for the day, you can put it in your freezer, and that will keep the paint soft. And what I do is just put like a piece of saran wrap or something on it, and then put it in my freezer until I'm ready to go back and paint. So that's been a really useful tip. Okay, so I'm gonna go and do the background block of like deeper violet. It's a pinkish violet in the behind the lemons. It's a dark value on here. I think I'm using some violet with the permanent rose, and adding a bit of white, and just gonna start there. See how that works. Just to block in the color and get the shapes in. And so this would be considered a negative space, what I'm working on right here, the space that's around this beautiful lemon, the negative, when I talked about negative space in doing the value study. Okay, and I don't want to go too long in this clip, so I'm gonna just start with a little bit of lemon. I've got a cadmium yellow, and then I have a lemon yellow. And that's the lighter part of this lemon here. And then there's the deeper shadow, which I'm gonna get, and I'm not quite sure, this is where I'm a little bit undecided of what color to go with. I have mixed up yellow with violet, that's the complement of the yellow. I'm not so sure I like that color as the shadow part. I've also used green at different times. I could also just go with the violet, which is maybe what I'm going to do in here for right now, and then maybe throw in some yellow on top of it later. So I'm just going to put the violet in here, and some of that comes around this area here. This is a violet mixed with some white, and some of the yellows, I'm picking up some of the yellow from what I just put in, so that's kind of actually working. And then on this part of the lemon, there is a very subtle shadow. To me, it looks a little bit more green. So I'm just going to take a little bit of green with the yellow and put that in there, and I might change it later. So this is, I'm experimenting a little bit. I don't know how this is going to work. I might go back. I'm trying to keep this pretty classic in the expression. And I'm using pretty thin layers of paint right now is the other thing. Yeah. So I'll just go with, let's just get some of this in. So I would like to come back once I just get the general shades in and add more. I used red this time to darken up the underbody on this lemon here. Yeah. Just going to bring that over here. We'll see how that works. Okay. And let me try it again over here. There's also a slight shadow under this one. And some of the blues coming up a little bit on these. The lemons. That's okay. I'm not worried about it too much. We'll just get that worked out down the road. Just trying to get the general sort of gist of things right now. Okay. Coming out, gonna make those lines disappear. There is, I don't know. Let's see. When I see greens, yeah, get another little brush here. And bring in some green with yellow. And this is kind of how this looks to me. A little bit of green in there. Just gonna get that. And we'll come back to the little bit of violet. Violet with some white. and some blue on this with the violet, and try to get in this shadow here. This is a pretty dark shadow. Yep. Get in here. And it gets a little lighter in